Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, where we go across country and travel the world with members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. Let's go. Everyone, we're so excited to have Traveling Judi back on the show. Judi Cohen, she's a travel writer. She loves to cruise, especially small cruises, small ship cruises, I should say. And she's really quite particular. And today she's joining us. I never thought, she's talked about sailing the world. I think she's been everywhere. But I was amazed. She's like, I went on this amazing tour or a cruise ship of Victory Cruise Lines. It took her through the Great Lakes between America. Well, it's North America, right? Between Canada and the United States. And this is the second time she went. And I have to tell you, I think we all need to do this. And the Great Lakes, whenever I'm near the Great Lakes, I always kind of feel like it's the ocean. I forget that it's a lake. So, and I love this because we're connected to Toronto, where you're based out of. I put myself in Toronto with one of your pictures today. So welcome back, Traveling Judi. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Lisa, for having me back.
Yeah, this is exciting. We love doing our shows with IFWTWA, the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. And this is one of the 3 shows we do every month. We do every second Tuesday, second Friday, and third Monday. And if you're a travel writer or involved in the travel industry, food, wine, and travel, go to IFWTWA.org. And you're on the board too, right?
I am. I'm on the board, and I'm the board secretary.
So you could sit there and say, they did not say this. Yes, they did.
Right. That's right. The good news is everything is recorded these days.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, or the bad news. Well, let's not talk politics. Just kidding. But anyway, this is so cool, and I wonder about people even thinking about. We always think going to the tropical places with cruises, but it's really changed up. And even before we started recording this, you were talking about some of the cruises you've been on recently. Seems that there's a lot of heritage cruises that are happening around the world.
There's a lot of heritage cruises. I just did one, a Jewish heritage cruise along the Danube in Europe.
Wow.
Budapest to Nuremberg. I have done one in the past with Viking. So there's no shortage of heritage cruises. I wouldn't exactly call the Great Lakes a heritage cruise, although there's a lot of history.
Mm.
There's a lot of culture, and there's a lot of natural beauty as you go along the Great Lakes. And actually, I discovered the Great Lakes quite a while ago, before COVID. And then during COVID, I used that time to cruise on small ships, very small ships on the Great Lakes. I did ones along the St. Lawrence Cruise Lines. I did a Viking after COVID. So I did a Viking's Great Lakes cruise that went from Milwaukee to Thunder Bay in Canada. Quite remarkable. And they did a lot of scientific research on that ship and had a laboratory that we were able to go in and do some work with them. And I also did the Rideau Canal with a couple of different companies. And one was a houseboat with Le Boat. If you've ever heard of Le Boat, you can charter, you can book your own luxury houseboat for as many people as you want. Up to, I think, 12 is the limit. And you self-captain.
That's fun. But that could be dangerous if I'm doing it.
It can be dangerous, and I do have some stories about that. Our daughter had a bit of an incident the second time we chartered one of the boats. But it's a fabulous way to, first of all, learn about the whole lock system. It's a horrible system. And you have to learn to go through the locks that are operated by Parks Canada staff, who are just delightful people and make all the difference. So, I mean, the Great Lakes has a whole bunch of different elements to it. So everything from the actual 5 Great Lakes through the canals, through the Welland Canal and the Soo Locks.
Yeah, you did the Soo Locks on this journey, right?
Yes, I did the Soo Locks. And that was very, very interesting. It's just an absolutely mammoth piece of infrastructure. And there were four canals there, 4 locks that they had there. And now there's 2 operating, and the 2 others are going to be turned into one large lock. But seeing the kinds of ships and understanding how important the Great Lakes were to the movement of goods.
And also battles being fought there, the War of 1812. I mean, that's a huge story that I think we also forget,
Yeah. So like everybody who was on our cruise that I talked to, and because it's so small, you really do get to talk to a lot of people. I think everybody's intention in booking that cruise was quite different.
Mm,
People just wanted to see the Great Lakes and learn about them. They had a very low level of knowledge of the Great Lakes. You know, where were we going? What were we doing? But everyone was there ready to receive. And they have people on the ship that are part of the enrichment program. They're called Lake Glorians. And they
oh,
do a lot of work with the National Museum of the Great Lakes that's based in Toledo, Ohio. And the Lake Glorian is part of that.
oh.
Yeah.
So
So
you got to really get the culture and of course good food and wine and all that.
don't even get me going on the food. It was,
Yeah.
they knocked it right out of the park. It
So
was,
the Victory too. So the cruise ship is wonderful food. What was the accommodation? What was the ship like? Because small ship, I mean, what size, like how many people are on this cruise, do you think?
there it has a maximum capacity of 190 passengers on the ship.
Okay.
So it's very small. We had less than that. We probably had about 135 on our,
Hmm.
which made it even more comfortable. But it's not a big cruise ship. So
Okay.
you have
I
to
like that.
look at these. The ship is behind me. I have the picture of the Victory
Hmm.
on the photograph behind me. And it's small. It's got a total of 5 decks. And it is, think of wood paneling, think of being in your home, comfortable in your living room or your den, moving from your living room to your den to your very comfortable dining room to a lounge area,
Mm,
almost like a living room. Very, very comfortable, very cozy, and very classy, though. I thought it was very classy. I happen to love the wood
that's
paneling.
nice.
Yeah, and but it is very different from the very shiny, brassy, and brash ships that are out there now, the big ones. So anybody
Yeah.
on this would be, if you were a large ship cruiser and you didn't know what you booked, you might come
Yeah.
on and say, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
What am I going to do here?" There's no casino, there's no Broadway shows, so there's no big fancy mall in the middle of a ship. It's not like that. This is the experience on the ship, though, is fabulous. And the experience off the ship in all of these ports and these destinations, worthy. It's definitely worthy.
Mm.
I took on this cruise, my husband couldn't come with me, and I took a friend. Oh, when I asked her to come with me, that this was her first time cruising.
Oh, cool.
She had never stepped foot on a ship at all.
Wow. So this is special for her.
This was so special. First of all, she said, I didn't even know what to expect, but everything that I kept hearing about cruise ships was big, were huge. And she loved how cozy this was. And our
Mm.
cabin, the cabins were very comfortable. They're not big. There's nothing big about them. Our cabin had 2 lovely windows that were on almost like a veranda that we could walk in front of our room. There were 2 chairs and a little table.
That's awesome.
We could have our morning coffee out there if we wanted to, and we could sit out there and read or just watch the scenery go by.
I'm sorry about wine time is coming for me on that one.
Well, wine time, definitely, it was perfect place
Mm.
to enjoy a glass of
Mm.
whatever you liked, and everything was included, by the way.
Nice. That's really nice. And then going there because to me also you know you're sailing, you're cruising, it's pretty, you're having those views, it's relaxing, and then you get off of you had this itinerary, so 5 different destinations. And so where did you sail from? And everyone, there's a great article up on the website on blendradioandtv.com. It's linked in the episode notes. IFTWA's website's linked, and travelingjudi.com is linked, and that's Judy. If you're listening versus watching, it's Judy with an I. So travelingjudi.com, and that's how you'll find her on Instagram and all those great places. All of that is linked. So check that out. But where did you where did you start? Because you ended in Toronto, right?
We did. So we started in Chicago, and Victory is the
Okay.
only cruise line that actually sets sail, is allowed to dock at the Navy Pier, which is such
Oh,
a
okay.
beautiful area down there. So beautiful. You can see the
Mm.
skyline is behind us, like the city is behind us. And so it's just a beautiful place to leave from, lots to do. And then we went to Mackinac Island. We went to Escanaba first in Michigan, a small, very quaint town in
Hmm.
Michigan. I met some of the nicest people. We went to a goat farm to see how they produced goat soap, goat milk soap.
Wow.
And then they took us to a sugar shack, which is affiliated with one of the universities there, but It's all of their techniques for maple syrup production.
Cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And then we went down, we went up to a lighthouse that was there. We went right up to the very top of the lighthouse where the prisms are, the lights
Oh,
are.
very cool.
Yeah, it was a real interesting stop. And then from there we went up to Mackinac Island.
Beautiful.
And if you don't know about Mackinac Island, you should.
It's so historic. Yeah.
It is. And just arriving there, and there's no cars. Cars have been
Hmm.
banned since many, many years ago. And everything moves on the island by horse and horse cart. Bicycles. So bicycles and horses and horse carts are the way
That's cool.
things move around the island. And it's not a small island. Beautiful part of the island is that it's got all these old Victorian houses and the manicured landscapes, and then got an old fort that's there, Fort Mackinac, for the history. Lots of things to do there. But the best thing that I love doing there is going to the Grand Hotel. It is an iconic hotel there. It's been every president of the United States and other diplomats, everybody has stayed at that hotel. It is beautiful. It's got the longest porch in the world. Beautiful.
I love porches, Yeah.
And the colors in the Grand Hotel are spectacular. The decorations there, everything pops and it just feels wonderful. And one of the premium excursions that I booked, Sharon and I booked, was to have lunch in the fancy dining room at the Grand Hotel.
Oh, nice.
Which was great. So we got to hang out there, have our lunch, go walk through the hotel and see everything in it, and then walk through the gardens and you can see the water there. It's just beautiful. So Mackinac Island was our next stop. And then we went to Detroit. We went through Soo. Actually, we went
Motor City, because Detroit that's actually a national heritage area.
It is. I'm not going to give it to you in the order, but let's talk about Detroit because we're talking about it. I love Detroit. I've spent a lot of time in Detroit. I was on the board of the the Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority that's built.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Here, the Gordie Howe Bridge. My office was on the Windsor side in Canada, but we spent a lot of time going back and forth. And so for me, it was very, very special, not just visiting Detroit, but also going under that bridge, which is going to open very shortly. It was a really proud moment.
Oh, it's exciting. Detroit, obviously there's, the car history, which makes America, in the United States, the road tripping is such a big deal. And it all came from that area and Motown. You got music and cars. And then you went to Cleveland, Ohio, talking about music. And we have a shared love of music, we definitely do. But you made me a little jealous because you got to play Cleveland Rocks.
Cleveland Rocks. It sure does. And the ship actually is at a port that is right next to, within walking distance of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No.
Great. It was just great. Going into it, even seeing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from the outside is beautiful. But then when you go into it, it's like one floor after another, and everybody, people that you haven't thought about, or music bands or individuals you haven't even thought about for years, you look and you go, wow, I forgot about that, and look at this. And as a Canadian, they had a display of Rush, Rush.
Oh, yeah.
So they're there, and of course all the British bands, right?
Yeah.
Called out there, and they've got movie theaters. We sat in the movie theater and watched some of the shows that they had. There's no end of things you can do.
Oh man, that is a dangerous space for me because I don't think I would leave. I eat that stuff up for that's my thing. And then you go to gardens too. Didn't you go to a garden?
Yeah, we went off to, again, one of the other premium excursions was the Stan Highwit Hall and Gardens. He was the co-founder of Goodyear Tire Company.
Okay.
But you can only imagine how beautiful this estate looked inside and outside. We walked from room to room to room and then out into the gardens. It was just magnificent. And the drive there was very nice. So I'm very happy we did that. So we did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then we did the Goodyear Tire Company estate.
Yeah.
There, which I loved. And just going back to Detroit though for a second.
Yeah.
We didn't do the a lot of the Motor City stuff. We didn't do the tour that most people would do because we've both been to Detroit so many times.
Mm-hmm.
What we did was we booked the premium excursion to go to the Great Lakes Museum,
Oh, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
National Museum of the Great Lakes in Toledo. So there was a bus that took us to
Oh,
Toledo, Ohio, and we were able to board the James Schoonmaker Museum ship, which is a giant freighter, Great Lakes freighter, and we were served breakfast in the officers' dining room on
cool.
the great ship. And then in the Great Lakes Museum afterwards, they have some of the items from the Edmund Fitzgerald that's sunk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's sunk in Lake Superior, and you know that Gordon Lightfoot wrote the music, wrote a song of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I couldn't help but hum that the whole time that I was there. But they have a lifeboat and a life preserver that's there. Honestly, I could have spent many more hours in the national.
I want to go there because I'm fascinated about all the shipwrecks that happen in the Great Lakes, right? And then there's the ghost ships, right? We've talked about that too. But they used to, and this was back in, was it Commodore Perry during 1812, right? That time frame. And when the winter would come, they would hide their ships. They would sink their own ships under the ice and then come back out and pull them out. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how do you sink your own ship and even find it? It's like bizarre to me, but there's this whole history. And then they're still finding ships to this day that are out in the lakes. It's crazy.
Are. And at the National Museum of the Great Lakes, they've got a whole area that goes one by one through all of the shipwrecks. They've got all of the
Actually,
documentation.
they
And
have an airplane part from the Tuskegee Airmen from World War II that they pulled out of there. I know, I'm sorry, I get all excited.
well, and the other thing that fascinated me there, because I got to put on these white gloves and the prisms from some of the old lighthouses, they took the prisms out, they preserved them, and
Oh,
you can touch them. They're very sharp. That's why you
yeah.
need to wear gloves. Anyway, they fascinated me. All the prisms from the lighthouses. It sounds very nerdy, and it's okay. It's okay to be a nerd on a Great Lakes cruise.
I geek out on these, or nerd out,
Yeah.
geek out, but
Yeah.
that is the lighthouse lights. I mean, that is kind of psychedelic in a way. And it's just with all the colors and the lights, how it does, you think about the people making them. That's what I always go like, how did they know how to do what and where? And that's how lights, I mean, yeah. And do you know how many women ran those lighthouses? There's a
Yeah.
history of women lighthouse keepers, and it's a very solitary, hard life. And
It is. It is. It's a very hard life. Some of those those lighthouses were in the middle of nowhere.
and at winter, I mean, the Great Lakes in winter freeze. I mean, I've seen photos of like waves, frozen waves.
Yeah. Yeah. You know that they're operating some cruises down the St. Lawrence? I want to do it. I want to do this. They're operating them in the height of winter and they use icebreakers.
No,
Yeah. So they have icebreakers that go out.
you would
Uh,
do this.
I definitely got it at the top of my list now. Ponant, Ponant, is the company that operates these icebreakers that make
Well,
their
you've done Antarctica, right? So you could do that.
Antarctica 5 times. I've
So
done the Canadian Arctic and Greenland and Iceland and everything else more than once. And doing
yeah, you're prepped.
I wanna do this. I wanna do
Yeah,
this winter cruise. If I can convince my husband to,
yeah.
cough, right? I'm going to do that, and that's high on my list.
I think it's a no-brainer.
Let me just tell you the other real
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is getting into Port Colborne, which is, in Ontario, in Canada, and from there is where we went to Niagara Falls. So one of these
Yeah.
good excursions is a bus ride that gets you to Niagara Falls, and then you go out on a small ship. You put on these pink plastic raincoats, and this small boat takes you right into the Horseshoe Falls and past the Bridalveil Falls. And it is just a mind blow.
It's amazing. And I love this that we're talking about, Canada and United States having this shared experience. And Niagara does that, and the Great Lakes really does connect our two countries. And through travel, we can forget about everybody yelling at each other and actually just have these experiences and go back to being nice humans. I
Can
love
tell you
this.
that we never talked politics
That's awesome.
on the ship. It never came up. We just were in the moment,
In the
enjoying.
experience.
And I learned from everybody that was on there. The bulk of people were American.
Mm,
So I had an opportunity to really just learn, and what
mhm.
their understanding was. We had an 89, I'm just going to mention this because it was very interesting and made our trip wonderful. It was an 89-year-old couple. He's a doctor and he was from California. And his wife was born in Beverly Hills and grew up there with a media family. They had just returned from Antarctica, the two of them,
Okay.
89 years old.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And he came back and said, "Now what are we going to do?" And they got a letter in the mail, and it was from Victory Cruise Lines. And it was saying that Victory 1 and 2 were launching and on the Great Lakes. And they booked it. They immediately booked it. They got this advertisement. They booked the cruise. And he said, "We don't want to travel that far. This was close enough for us to get to. And we're so glad that we're here." There were so many other people like this who just kind of said, why would we not do something here? A lot of people
Yeah.
the Great Lakes. I have lived in Toronto on the Great Lakes all my life.
That's awesome.
All
There's
my life.
something, well, water connects us, right? Water is where civilization occurs. James Michener famously talks about that. It's like, if you want history, always go to where the water is. And that's where the people come and go. And cruise ships make it accessible for those who you may not be able to go road tripping and hiking and all of that, but I know people, instead of putting themselves into a retirement home, they cruise because
Yeah.
you're experiencing things.
Well, you are. You're seeing different things. You're meeting new people.
You don't have to cook.
It's such a joy. But this is no different than the destinations that I've been to in Cambodia. You go down the river,
Yeah.
go down the Mekong in Vietnam. You go down the Irrawaddy in Burma, the Ganges in India, or the Brahmaputra River in
Mhm.
India. All of those are about how life started and how important all of those
Mm.
waterways have been. And that's the same thing here.
Yeah.
It's
It's two countries united.
part of our countries.
I love it. I love it. And then just going into all these different experiences. That's what I think is so cool about cruising. And when it's smaller ships like you're talking about, that you're doing all these other, you're going to the museums like you're talking about. You went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is completely different. Niagara Falls is a different experience. I want to go back though, because the Soo Locks, tell us about that, because I do think the locks are like Chicago, you've got all the skyscrapers, you've got architecture, and you got engineering with these bridges and the locks.
And the locks. So, massive, massive, massive undertaking to build
Mm.
those locks. And it still is ongoing, right? They're improving and they're doing all kinds of things. Of course, you got Sault Ste. Marie on one side, Ontario, and Sault Ste. Marie on the other side in the United States. I can tell you that over 10,000 ships pass through the Soo Locks.
Wow.
It is huge. And the other thing that I found very interesting was they don't charge them. They
Mm.
charge fees to go through the Panama Canal and a lot of these other places. There is no fee for passenger ships or freighters to go through the Soo Locks. So,
Wow. But you have to have your timing right.
well, your timing, I don't even think you could book a time. You have to approach. I guess you can coordinate because they
Yeah.
must know, captains must know what's ahead of them and what's
Yeah.
in them. But it's not like you've got a reserved slot to go in. And so we had to wait, for instance, to go through those locks. But,
Mm.
like it is, and Sue itself, Sault Ste. Marie, we got off and we walked around, and then there's a viewing deck. So you can view the ships going through the locks and seeing the freighters coming through.
Mm.
I have this romantic affair with freighters, with the old freighters.
Mm.
And I don't know.
I'm like that with barges and also trains, because
Yeah.
it's just like you want to know. And now they graffiti the heck out of them, which is, well, it's
No.
part of art, I suppose, but you know what I mean? It's part of it, but I just want to know who, what, and where. I always want to know. I want to know who's on a cruise ship. Like, I want to go in there and say, all right, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
yeah.
exciting.
So, that was pretty fantastic. Every place was was very interesting in its own unique way. And so it's
Yeah.
not the same. It's not like, cruising in Greece and you go from one island to the next, which are all beautiful and they've all got their own particular charm, but there's something that's same about them.
Mm-hmm.
These are
Yeah.
not same. These are really different, unique and different and beautiful. And then coming into Toronto, of course, like I loved it. We came in early in the morning. I don't know, but I hope that some of the people were going to stay in Toronto afterwards
Yeah.
and tour the city. I gave some advice to some of the passengers on there when they were
Mm,
done their tours, what they might want to do in Toronto, but
mm,
there's no shortage of things. Just being between Chicago and Toronto and all of this other beautiful, amazing stops along the
mm.
way.
Did you see wildlife? Like when we did a boat tour, we were in Lake Erie because we were in Erie, Pennsylvania. We went from there, and it's all national parks or in state park. And I think it's a state park, Lake Erie State Park there. It's one of the top 10 in the country, one of the top 10 beaches. And like I said, you forget you're on a lake and not at the beach. And the sunset. I remember being there for my birthday a few years ago, during COVID, actually, and just not wanting to leave. The sunset was so incredible. We were sitting having wine on the beach, watching people skip rocks, and I'm going, when do you see this kind of healthy thing? Like of families, it just was like a seaside town with ice cream shops and all of it.
Yeah.
And then we went out on a boat the next day, and I think it should be national park status personally. But we went out.
I saw a lot of birds.
Yeah, me too. Tons. Seagulls too. And
Yeah.
that's what gets you all twirled around. You think you're at the beach.
And then there were the little bugs, the little midges. Have you heard of midges?
Yeah.
They don't bite you. They don't do anything else, but they just kind of swarm everywhere. Exactly. So it's all part of the circle of
Yeah.
life. Yes. So, the service there, they tried to customize things, and use
Okay.
local products, which was very nice. So there was some
Mm.
fish that was locally sourced. Yeah.
Oh,
I'd
for sure.
say it is definitely very high. It should be high on North Americans' list,
Mm.
Europeans as well. But I think that the people who really appreciate this are the ones who kind of grown up here, lived here, and undervalued the Great Lakes. We do. We seem to. We're busy running all over the place. And the Great Lakes is such a wonderful destination, not just like there's spring, there's summer, there's fall. And now we have options for winter even, right? To go out on the cruise. And each time of year is different. So if you love the changing of colors in the autumn, my
Yeah.
goodness, Great Lakes is a perfect.
Mm.
It's just beautiful. Mackinac Island, by the way, you mentioned food on Mackinac. They're really famous for fudge. There are I don't know how many fudge shops, but there's got to be over 20 fudge shops, all in the space of a very short fudge. So we resisted this time. I've been there before, and I have dug into the fudge, and I highly recommend it. They did give us as little gifts on this ship every night before we went to sleep. We did the turn down service, and they always gave us something local. So one day was fudge from Mackinac, another day was chocolate covered cherries from Michigan. Every night was something fun,
Oh,
popcorn in Chicago. So yeah, we got little treats as well. No, I'm not sailing anywhere. I cannot go to that conference because my daughter is having another baby and I need to have both feet on the ground in Toronto and help her with her other child.
yeah.
So
You have to,
otherwise I would never miss the
yeah.
conference. I really would
Yeah.
have loved to have been in Lafayette. I would never miss going to that
Yeah.
if I could have gone, but this is clearly the exception. Great seeing you too. Bye, Lisa.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, featuring members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We encourage you to visit their website. We say IFWTWA, which is IFWTWA.org. You can also follow us at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels, everyone!